we cannot control the market. The market, in a lot of ways, is like the wind.
The market's going to do what the market wants to do. The wind is going to do what the wind wants to do. Are you going to fight the wind, which some people try to do, and fight the market? Or are you going to get out of your own way and be in harmony with the market?
Last Week in the Market is now Right of the Chart, the podcast for self-guided independent traders. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. I am Sean Vincent. I am the voice of Right of the Chart. Today we'll be talking to Adam Sarhan. He is the brains behind Right of the Chart. Adam Sarhan is the author of the book Psychological Analysis. He is the curator of the FindLeadingStocks.com newsletter, and he is the creator of the AMPD trading strategy. That's AMPD. So much of Adam's philosophy about trading in the market is about mindset. It's about aligning yourself with market conditions. Today we're going to talk a little bit philosophically about how the market is like the wind. There's no sense in fighting the wind. You just need to study it and understand it and get out of its way when it blows furiously and when it can be harnessed and it will take you in the direction you want to go with that. Here's my philosophical conversation with Adam Sarhan. But before we get to all of that, remember that in the market, the past does not predict the future. No results are typical, and there is inherent risk when trading in the market. This podcast is for educational purposes and does not constitute financial advice.
So I got a question for you. Have you seen the Shogun series on FX?
No, gun series?
Shogun, about
Shogun.
the samurais and the...
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
The writing's great, the acting's great, the production value is great, and it's about this time of civil war in Japan in the 1600s, and it's a classic story. It's like an old novel. They made a miniseries back in the late 70s or early 80s. I remember watching it on TV, and they've like reimagined it and added some new twists and things. But one of the main characters is this guy, Lord Toranaga. He's the one who's destined to become the new shogun of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lord Toranaga, he's this warlord, this feudal lord, but he's brilliant with strategy and tactics and politics, right? And he keeps it close to the chest, but he manipulates people, and he avoids this crazy battle because he's so smart. And one of his vassals, who sort of went back and forth and played both sides, is now near his end. And he just so impressed with Lord Toranaga's strategy. He asked him, what does it feel like to be able to bend the wind to your will?
Oh, wow.
Right? And Lord Toranaga, he says, I don't control the wind. I study it. And I thought immediately of you, and I thought immediately of what you've taught me about trading in the market, right? We cannot control the market. The market, in a lot of ways, is like the wind. It has patterns. It is not always predictable, but there are things that you can anticipate if you study it, if you watch it, right? And you learn it. And I've just had the greatest joy over certainly the last year since we've been doing this podcast and talking about it weekly, but also since we worked together on your book.
Yeah.
And I've been tuned into this thing. And then I was looking at the model portfolio yesterday, and we've had a kind of a remarkable, unexpected couple of weeks in the market. But right now, all my positions are positive. I didn't lose any money when the market went back, and I thought, okay, I'm in this position where I certainly am not controlling anything, but I've got such positive results because I've taken the time to study it, and with your guidance and looking at it from a point of view that you taught me. And so this is something that you talk about all the time, but for people for self-guided independent traders who are just starting to find some structure in their trading, tell me a little bit about just how you feel about studying the market.
Sure. So, Sean, because I love you so much, I wasn't even sure if we started recording or if that was just us talking normally. So
Yeah. No, well, yeah, that's great. Well, that's the idea of the
I
podcast is
didn't
to
even
have a
realize
nice
we were
casual
going. Yeah, I thought
conversation.
we were. Yeah, I thought we were just having our normal conversation. Okay, so a few thoughts here. Number one, I absolutely love, and I mean love with a capital L, the wind market comparison. It's so true. Where the wind is stronger than us, it's bigger than us. There's nothing we can physically do to control it. It's going to do what it wants to do, regardless. Now, the market, it's the same thing. So the job is to study the wind, study the market, so you can navigate it and control it, so to speak. Where you people that don't know what you're doing looks like you're controlling it, or the wizard kind of a thing. You've got that magician magic or whatever way you want to describe it. But really, what we're doing is we're getting out of our own way, and that's really important because there's ego inside all of us. There's a shadow. There's a whole bunch of things in our psyche. It's a very complex thing that's going on upstairs here. And everyone's got different levels of complexity, if you will. Some are more simpler and some are more complex. But the reality is the market's going to do what the market wants to do. The wind is going to do what the wind wants to do. Are you going to fight the wind, which some people try to do, and fight the market? Or you can get out of your own way and be in harmony with the market. And by harmony, it's a play on the word harmony, but you really want to be in harmony with the money and harmony with the wind. That shogun or that samurai master, he wasn't fighting the wind, and it was bending wind. He gave the illusion or the impression that he's controlling the wind, not even in a malicious way. And he was doing what he felt was right, but other people thought that he can control it. All we're doing here, it's the same thing. It's we want to study the market and then adjust ourselves to be aligned with the market. And the fact that the model portfolio on your end, which you're running with no input from me whatsoever, is up and didn't lose this month and is doing fantastic, navigated the big drop we had in the beginning of August 24 and then the big recovery we had afterwards, is phenomenal. And that's hats off to you. And that just is another illustration that this works. And by this, it means a system that is just based on studying the market or studying the wind. So, that's the whole goal here, is to be in harmony with the market and ask ourselves, what can we do better to be more aligned with the market? So we're going with the wind and we're not trying to fight the wind. Almost as if we have a tailwind, not a headwind, if we're talking about pilots and airplanes and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I not long ago had a chance to have a trip to the Bahamas and back, right? And we came back from the Bahamas a day early because the weather was going to change and it was going to make the Gulf Stream real rough. And everyone who was making passages knew this. And so when we got in on the Florida side, we came in this port and there were all these sailboats there that were just anchored, and the people on them were just hanging out. And you could tell that these were cruisers that go around. They had their water jugs out. These were boats built for long-term cruising. They all knew that the wind was going to turn against them that day, and they were waiting, right? And they were all of them waiting. You could tell that they knew something, and they weren't going to go try to cross that day because it was going to be a bad time. And in 2 days, it's going to be great. And there's a little bit of that. Sometimes when the wind changes, you just get out of the way and you wait and you don't fight it,
100%.
And something you caught on to there was this idea, like this illusion that from an outside perspective, if you're just anticipating the wind and actually changing with the patterns, it looks to someone who doesn't understand that you're somehow in control of it, when instead you've just aligned yourself with it, and it looks the results the same to an outside viewer. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the idea is that you have guardrails in place. The idea is that it's well thought out, it's systematic, and you have structure. And the most important word there is some kind of structure where you can plan for the inevitable storms that come, the windy days, the rainy days, the sunny days, and the good, the bad. Basically, just keep the polarity really simple. There's good and there's bad in the market. There's good and bad weather, same thing. So you want to be operating when you have a tailwind and the weather's good, and you want to be at port when the weather's not good and protected. So the structure, Sean, is really important. If you talk about that, it's like, okay, there's two people. Forget about the market for a second. Just two people, and they want to learn a new language or how to go on sailing, and they want to become sailmen or whatever, fishermen, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, great. So I want to learn a new language or a new skill. One person has no structure, wakes up every day, he's going to wing it and hopefully learn the new language or to learn Spanish. Okay, great. The next guy is going to sit there and say, I'm going to read for 2 hours in Spanish. I'm going to learn vocabulary for 2 hours. I'm going to speak for 2 hours. And then I'm going to go into the marketplace, which happens to be in a, Spanish speaking country.
A
And
mercado.
yeah, there you go. And immerse myself into that world and just get by and wake up the next day, same routine, 2 hours reading, 2 hours writing, 2 hours speaking, 2 hours listening to the language, and then immerse myself in the language for the next 4 hours. Who has a better chance of learning that language? Person with structure, without structure. Look at high school, Sean. Every single person that goes into high school, all if they show up to their classes and they do the work, not just show up, but pay attention, do the work, what
Yeah.
happens? They graduate high school. It's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. Nobody gets a six pack by accident. Nobody becomes a billionaire that I know of, at least, by accident. So
Right.
the reality is if you have structure in place, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm doing science. Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing math. 10 to 11, I'm doing art, and then history. And you follow that structure. After the certain amount of time, if you're consistent, you keep doing the work, you have
Mhm.
structure, your results will get much better than if you don't have structure. In the
Yeah.
market, it's the same thing. So every weekend, what do? I go through a weekend report, do a video, go through the stocks that are leading, because all I want to do is look at stocks that are going up. Because after you buy a stock, there's only three things that can happen. It can go up, down, or sideways. So an object in motion does what? Stays in motion. So I want to eliminate the ones that are going down, eliminate the ones that are going sideways, and focus on the ones that are going up, but not just blindly buy them because they're up. They could be too extended on the upside.
Right.
So wait for proper times, but find those ones that are building bases, that are below resistance, that have meet the criteria for a higher probability event to occur in the following week that can cause them to break out and have a new uptrend.
Yeah.
And if we can get in early on that new uptrend and be aligned and prepare, look to the right of the chart. Here we go here.
Nice.
The only place you make money is to the right of the chart after you buy something.
Yes.
Okay, so if we can anticipate our own behavior and say, okay, if the stock goes above this level, that's an important level, it's resistance. I'm going to buy it at this level. I'm going to put a stop at this level if I'm wrong to get out and risk this much. Those
Yeah.
three magic questions. Where do you enter? Where do you exit if you're wrong? And how much do you risk or lose if you're wrong? If you can answer those three questions on the weekend before the market even opens and have a watch list and have the top
Yeah.
stocks out of those lists or the best stocks from that watch list, you've done the work ahead of time. So during the week when the market opens, yes, we have new breakouts. We give them out every morning after the open. Here are the breakouts every day. But really the watch list, the meat on the bone, a lot of that work is already done for us. So all you've got to do is wait for your stocks to go above your, pivot points or your resistance areas and give you buy points. And guess what? 95% of the work is done for you. All you got to do is have a plan and then trade the plan.
Yeah. And so what I love this is, Adam, in that you've just sort of segued into almost all the other topics that I wanted to talk to you about today. And I'm not even sure which one to go first, but here, the one you just talked about, right? So this happened to me at the end of last week. And for folks who are listening in the future, right, we've just had a wild swing in the market. The market lost, like the S&P lost like 12%, and then since then it's gained a lot of that back. It's near all-time highs again. So this is the atmosphere that we're working, right? And to the point that we were talking earlier about not controlling the wind, but studying it and learning how to move. And then to your point right now about having structure. So I knew before this wild swing where I wanted to get out, and my stops triggered, and I got out. And while other people were fretting and biting their nails and panicking, I was relaxed, and I thought, oh, you know what? I can take a few days off while this thing falls, right? But then it hit a bottom and it was starting to recover. And I knew from my work with you and from studying the market, right, that there was a downward trend line that I thought if we broke through that, that's a good sign for me to get re-engaged again. That happened to coincide with the 21-day moving average for the main indices that I was watching, right? And I thought if it broke that also, that's a nice confirmation, right? And that also happened to happen on a follow-through day where the market was up more than 1.3% on higher volume than the day before. So I had a triple confirmation there that the indicators, according to my strategy, which is from what I learned from you on the AMP trading strategy, that my light was green again. and that I had already ETFs and equities that I was interested in and watching and ready to go for. So when the light turned green, you'd think I'd be like, let's go. I'm going to start. But there was something in my heart that was like, oh, I can't believe it. And uh, I was expecting this downward trend to last longer or go deeper. And I felt this little bit of resistance. And then I thought, what would Adam say? And I said, no, what? I'm going to trade the plan. And all my technical indicators are there. I have a triple confirmation. How much more do I need? And so I just forgot about my emotion and put in the trades that I knew I was going to make, and it paid off.
Very well done. I mean, that's the whole idea, right? So the markets are counterintuitive in nature. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't believe in they or some kind of nefarious group of people that are trying to do what, I don't believe in any of that stuff. It's real simple. It's just that's the way it works. Human nature. You walk into a crowded theater, yell fire. What happens? People run. It's just the way it works.
They're going to
So
panic.
the fact
Yeah.
that the markets are counterintuitive, when you feel good about something, it's usually after a big move up. It's human nature. And that's usually right before a big move down. And then when you're scared or feel bad, that's probably after a big move down, and when, right before the market's going to move up. Now, that being said, think of a red light and green light in traffic. You have, after every red light, you get a green light. So, and vice versa, it goes yellow and then red. So, okay, great. After every green light in the market's a move up, big move up. You feel good. But what's coming next? Red light. People don't think about that. Look to the right of the chart. So what they're doing is they're buying based on the recent past, expecting that to continue going forward. But it's just like flipping a coin. There's very little to no correlation of accuracy when it comes to predicting patterns that appear to be connected, but they're really more of a spurious correlation. They're not connected. When you flip a coin, every single time you flip it, the outcome is random based on that new flip. It has nothing. You can get 10 heads in a row. The 11th could be 20 tails in a row. There's no correlation, but it appears to be connected. So in markets, a lot of that, there's cognitive biases. I'm not going to go into that stuff now, but it's human nature. Let's just keep it that way. So having those indicators in place, Sean, did what? It allowed you, what I said earlier, protected you from yourself, right? So think of that good guy, bad guy kind of characters in the book. Thank you for the beautiful illustrations. We've got the smart money superhero and the dumb money beast. Well, the smart money superhero is inside all of us, where he's the superhero, or she, and if you're a woman, superhero or heroine, and she's the one that brings out the smart money, the smart decisions inside of you. And the dumb money beast is the one that's like a Tasmanian devil that runs around, makes emotional decisions, and causes chaos in your brain. We all have it. Star Wars had good, evil, heaven, hell, good, devil, whatever word you want to use, religion. Everyone's got this polarity where we understand where you can make smart, rational decisions, or you can just, my friend says, I don't drink, right? So he goes black out and make, emotional decisions.
Right, yeah.
People black out when they trade. They don't know what's going on. They wake up like, oh my God, I just lost X amount of dollars. So not literally black out, but they just get into this like weird.
Yeah, they become blind. Yeah.
Yes. So the idea, Sean, is to really be aware of who's in control, that superhero or the dumb money beast, or which I call Schmelf. And in my house, I've got young kids. When somebody's off, upset, angry, whatever it is, and it could be me, it could be my wife, it could be my kids, right away, we just say, oh, you're schmelfing. And it snaps us out of the schmelf. It's like, oh, it's not us. It kind of is, but it's not. And it's nothing personal. It's not an attack against our ego. It's just, hey, you're schmelfing. So with the market, it's the same exact thing. Are you making calm, cool, collected, rational decisions based on structure that you develop that works for you? In the book, we say there's an infinite number of ways to make money in the market. Your job's to find one that works for you.
Yes.
So you found your indicators. You have your structure. You did the work. Guess what? You got the results. I didn't get your results. You didn't get my results. You got the results because you showed up and you did the work. So anything. Look at Tiger Woods. Somebody said to him one time, he was swinging the golf club. He's, oh, I wish I was good as you. Tiger gets upset. He goes in his face. He's like, show me your hands. He shows him his hands, and he's on a keyboard all day,
no
right?
Calluses.
He's like,
yeah.
No calluses. He's like, no, you don't. He's like, I wake up at 4 a.m. every day and I swing the golf club until my hands bleed. And he shows him his hands, all calluses. So he's like, all right, if you want to be as good as me, do the work. Michael Jordan, same thing. He wakes up at 4 a.m., hits the gym until he can't throw anymore. That does it again the next day. So they have structure, they have rules, and guess what? Discipline, but the tenacity, they have all of these things. Winners win because
Yeah.
they have structure, they do the work, and they get the results.
So let's talk about the work. And from one perspective, like once you've learned the quality of the market and you've studied the wind, right? Then I think it is possible that you could narrow your trading down to a couple hours on the weekend. But it's going to, I believe, and this is what's been true for me, right? It's been years now, Adam, since we met and you started introducing me to the market. It's been years, in fact, now since we worked together on your book, right? And it took a lot of work to make that book happen. I was here late at night often. It was a marathon, right?
Thank you
To
kindly.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's really one of the proudest things I've done in my life professionally, right? But there's a lot of work for me to understand it the way I do now. And I was talking to someone who's read the book and with their impressions of it, and then Dennis Wilburn's been a guest on our show here for a couple of weeks,
Yep.
and he sent me his book, and I'm reading it, and there's a lot of things from the mindset and the philosophy of trading that are things that we talk about and that are important. And then he has one chapter where he gets super technical about swing trading, right? And I know what he's talking about because I've been in it for a while. But if you weren't vetted or pre-exposed to those things, all of a sudden it's like, remember back when kids and they'd have here's how to draw this elephant, and
Yes.
it started out with like a circle and then another circle,
Yes.
and then step 3 is like they draw the elephant, and then step
Yeah.
4 is you shade it. Right? And like between step 2 and step 3, there's like, oh my god, there's this huge thing. And so I found Dennis's book very valuable. I think a lot of traders would benefit from it, as I believe they'd benefit from your book, Psychological Analysis, right? But here's a hard truth is, and I remember when I was learning how to play guitar, 17 years ago, I read a couple books on it, and here's what I learned. You can't learn how to play the guitar from reading a book,
Yeah.
right? You have to actually do the work. It was actually around that time my kids were little, and I'd give them their bath, and I had this really cheap beater guitar that I didn't mind if it gets splashed on, and
Yeah.
I'd put the seat down and sit on the toilet, and then like give each kid a half-hour bath, and I'd play
Nice.
songs to them. So I
Nice.
practiced for an hour every day,
That's
working
cool.
out chords and working out progressions and building up the muscle memory, right? And the things that I read in the books helped me build the mindset and understand the obstacles I was going to face in my pursuit of learning how to play the guitar. It helped me understand some theory, but there's no substitute from sitting down and spending the time, right? And I think if you want to be good at this as a self-guided independent trader, like you said, you're going to have to do the work.
Mhm.
And that's not, you don't have to necessarily wake up at 4:30 and work like Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, right? And luckily for you and me, who both don't like to sweat very much, it's not physically difficult work.
Mental
But
setups. Yeah.
it's important to watch the market. And I think as you do that, even if you're not actively trading, you're aspiring to actively trade, make decisions. You know,
Yeah.
build your structure, watch it, and then write them down. Keep a journal of I would have entered here, and this is where I'm going to make real decisions, and then see how you'd have done in the real world, and build that confidence and learn from your mistakes. But there is work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that work too, Sean, is introspection. It's understanding yourself, understand what makes you tick, pardon the pun there, because we all have different things that get us motivated, get us excited, get us demotivated, get us, whatever word you want to use. And the reality is that if you know yourself and you know what you're good at, your strengths and your weaknesses, you can then begin the plan on doing those mental sit-ups or that work. Because without knowing yourself, a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, Adam, what do you do this? Or what do you do that? What do you do this? And what works for me might not work for them. I'm very good at big picture thinking, big picture stuff. I'm very bad at intraday minutia, looking at every minute bar and every tick and every second. That's why I can do this with you while the market's open right now and not care, because I have my stops in place to get in, get out. I've measured my risk in advance. I've done the work in advance. So that's where I'm good. The translates onto the weekly time frame or the monthly, the longer term time frames. Not even the daily's fine, but the intraday stuff, to me, it just scrambles my egg. My brain turns into scrambled eggs. I'm just not good at that. Now, some other guys and gals might be good at that. I don't know any billionaire day traders, but that's beside the point. But that being said, whatever works for you, by all means, God bless, let it work, and all the more power to you. But step one is know thyself. And then step two is build a plan that works for you. Because if you're trying to use someone else's plan, that becomes very tough. And to your point, which is excellent, you have to throw the basketball. You had to hit the golf ball. You have to string, play that guitar. Color blue. Anybody watching, here's $1 million if you can tell me what the color blue looks like. Tell me what chocolate tastes like. You get 10 million. You can't do it.
Someone who's never seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah. But once you taste chocolate, I can't give you vanilla and be like, oh, that's chocolate. But you can read 20 books on what chocolate tastes like. You have to taste the chocolate. Same thing in the market. When you come up with your own rules and regulations and guidelines and system and structure, I got a whole coaching stuff. Anyone's interested, just send us an email at info@findleadingstocks.com. I'm happy to help. But where there's structure and there's plans that you can learn about yourself and then create a plan for yourself and then trade the plan. It's super powerful.
Yeah, well, and the joy of that too, like when you look at a chart, you're like, well, there's a bullish flag if I've ever seen one. And
you can see it. Exactly.
It's just there. You can't unsee it once you've learned to see it. Oh, there's a cup and handle. That's beautiful. Yeah. I see it, and then all of a sudden it becomes a lot less mysterious.
All right, everybody, that's the podcast for today. Appreciate you listening through to the end. I'm watching the QQQ right now, flirt with the 50-day moving average. I've got my stops tight. If it goes down, I'm loose. If it goes up, I'm open to the weather. I'm gonna be one with the wind. We'll be back next week with more. Until then, keep your losses small. Let your winners fly.
Look to the right of the chart